Our next guests are the subjects of a compelling four-part documentary series called Thank You, Goodnight, the Bon Jovi Story, which offers an unprecedented look at one of the most enduring bands in rock and roll history, Bon Jovi. Please welcome Jon Bon Jovi, Tico Torres, David Bryan, and director Gotham Chopra to the South by Southwest studio. How we doing?
Very happy to be here. Thank you.
I mean, nobody's happier to be here than me because I'm right next to y'all. Like, this is incredible. And you guys are premiering a new documentary, which, congratulations on that, by the way. Like, that's amazing. People get to know more about you. But take us back to the origins of this documentary. Like, whose idea was it? How did you come together to do it? Like, I want to know everything.
I had seen Man in the Arena, which Gotham directed. It was a docuseries about Tom Brady. And with our 40th anniversary approaching, I thought this might be an opportunity to create a mile marker in our career. And so the only director I met with was Gotham Chopra, and we hit it off, and I said, it's in your hands, let's do this.
Yeah, great.
It was that simple.
I love when things just work out like that. Yeah. Well, you go deep in this series, right? There's like a warts and all approach to it. We see like the tears, the conflict, we see like the real vulnerability that you guys have. And I just want to know, was it tough to film that? Was it tough to kind of like go through it? Like what was in your mind when you were kind of like going through it all?
I mean, for me, it was first and foremost based in trust. You know, we trusted Gotham at the helm, and it's his creative control. But if we were going to do this, we all agreed it needed to be honest. Not my truth, our truth, everybody's individual collective story. So with that premise, we trusted Gotham to take it. I mean, I don't think I've seen a finished cut. The last time I saw anything was in late August. I haven't really paid attention to, you know, where it's at tonight.
How do you feel now that it's kind of over and now you're premiering it? Like,
it's a little weird.
We're ready for the sequel.
Ready for the sequel?
Oh, there would have been an episode 5 and 6, trust me.
Okay, I'll watch every single episode of that. That sounds really dope. Gotham, how did your views of the band change over the course of filming? Was there anything new that you learned about them that made you go, wow?
I learned a lot. Like, I grew up with this band. You know, I remember, you know, back in the 80s, you know, just the iconic songs, and especially I had a lot of family international. And I would say that was my first impression when I started. It's like my family in India thought America was Bon Jovi. You know, like that's how they grew up. It's like everyone wanted to come to America to hear these songs and have the crazy hair and, you know, all that sort of stuff. So, but obviously as I got to know the guys, hear the stories, and, you know, what you see and what you hear in the music is sort of a celebration, but like the process to get there, and in that way it's not unlike sports. You know, like the Super Bowl parade is great, but it's like everything, the grit and the ups and the downs to get there. So that's why I actually found it very similar to sports, a lot of the storytelling. But it was really fun, and it's a team. You know, John's the front man, he's the quarterback, but like it's the offensive linemen, it's the receivers that really, you know, make it work. And so it was super fun.
I'm excited to see this is like a double feature to The Last Dance with Michael Jordan, you know, just like watch those series back to back. And I also got to tell you guys this, you know, your music is so enduring, and we just had the premiere for Fall Guy, the new Ryan Gosling and Luke picture, right? I don't know if you've seen the movie yet, but you know, obviously your music plays like a big part of it. And at the after party, they had this whole karaoke situation, and the director David Leitch was singing Bon Jovi. You know, it was really great, Dead or Alive, and I have it recorded. We'll show it to you off screen.
Nice.
It's pretty sick. It's a pretty sick performance.
When I saw that clip of the film, that was one of those moments that, had it not been our song, I would have been very jealous of the other song that he used. I was like, all right.
It really works within the movie, and you got a big cheer in the audience as well. So
that's cool.
It's influencing film and everything, man. It's incredible. So I'm gonna throw this question to the band. Like, when you were watching this, what are some of the moments that stood out to all of you? Do you have like a favorite one together, or specifically like individually ones?
I think not even specific. It just watching the whole series. It was like, wow, we did a lot. I go, that's why I'm tired. Now I know why.
So
like we played a billion shows all around the world, and you know, we were, like I said, we were, you know, 5 guys that came from nowhere. You know, and we just wanted to go somewhere. And it was really an amazing it was amazing that those thoughts that you had in your brain and all those memories were up there on screen. And Gotham did like such an amazing job when you did an interview and I talked about a van in 1978 going over the 35 bridge.
Right.
And I'm talking to him, and then you look at the first cut and he found a van going over the 35 bridge, a brown van. I'm like, where did you even find it?
He was shooting.
He invented the first drone and just followed us on our whole life, or something. It was so amazing to see that, and then to see all the shows, and when it all was there, it was so emotional. Oh my gosh. Like, wow, that is a long journey and a successful, great journey.
Oh my gosh. I'm just, honestly, like, I was about to tear up for a second because I'm like, watching your whole life play before you, it's got to be a surreal feeling, right?
And to still be alive.
And it's still be alive.
That's the best
Not
part.
many people get that.
That's the bonus part.
Yeah, not many people
It's not
get
like
that.
you see your whole life flash before you and then you die. We got to see it and then we get to live.
And then you dropped a new single today.
Yeah.
Which it's insane. So again, we talk about like seeing the tears and the conflict and the vulnerability. Why was it important to show that side of Bon Jovi?
I think it really was important because everybody lived their own truth. And I keep reiterating that point because everybody lived this life together, but differently. And I think that for any young guy that's aspiring to do this, they should know that it takes hard work and dedication and commitment, and you can do it. But guess what? You have to do it again, and you have to do it again. And if you're going to sit here 40 years on, this can't be on the where are they now pile.
Yeah, of course.
Or you know, you can be, but we choose not to
Keep
be.
working.
You know, we
going after
keep
it.
striving for, excellence every day.
Yeah. So going back to the past, Slippery When Wet like sent you to the stratosphere and like just pretty much took you to one of the most popular bands on the planet. Right? At what point, and I really got to know this because I like seeing the origins of things. At what point did you guys look at each other and say, this could be something here. Like this is gonna change everything.
Yeah. It was in a Holiday Inn.
On the Holiday Inn?
Yeah, and we were touring with 38 Special. And oddly enough, it just took all over the whole world. And to the point where they said, we'll support you. And we said, no, we'll go out on our own. But it was like truly like crossing this mark, invisible mark in your life. It changed our life from there on.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah. That was our thriller. That was our Like a Virgin Born in the USA. That was that mile marker. But in my own naive way, I think that every step of the way, when we played together with our first record, you thought technically we've made it. That is the big time.
Right, of course.
Every step of the way, you think, no, that is the peak.
Yeah.
Until you realize
There's
another and
another
another
peak.
and
Yeah.
another. And then, then it becomes all about realizing the moment that you're in and enjoying it for what it is.
Okay, so you talk about these peaks. Apparently, you didn't think Living on a Prayer was going to be a hit, right? At what point did you go, I guess it is?
Well, I love that I was wrong, obviously, but the simplicity of our writing it, we wrote it very simply, and it did not have the bass line yet. The bass line came when we, the band, played together in the room.
Right.
The lyric, the chord progression, the melody was all written and finished. But if you're thinking about it, it's really 3 chords.
Right.
So there's not a lot of movement in the songwriting process. And so it's when we went in there and we were talking about a Motown bass line. Yeah, let's develop a Motown bass line. Yeah. And then Huey eventually, we said, there it is. So we worked it through, and that's when it started to have that bounce. But in and of the moment, you bring the song, but it was born in the room. It really was born in the pre-production room when the band played it, when a drum beat and a bass line into it.
I love that energy, and I wish I could have been a fly on the wall when like that moment was happening.
There was a lot of flies on the wall. In fact, there was
really?
a really crummy little demo studio in my hometown.
The flies are like, I was there.
There was a lot of flies.
It smelled like there should have been flies.
Oh wow, and I never would have imagined the scene to be like that, but like that's how legends are
there was a
made.
lot of flies.
Through the dirt and through a lot of flies.
You
like,
don't
right?
start at the top.
I love this. So I love this as well. Manager Don McGee also said that Jon was the most boring member of the band on tour because you didn't partake in any partying to save your voice. Like, would you guys all agree that he was just a stick in the mud during this time?
I wouldn't say a stick in the mud, but we had, he's the singer, he has to rest his voice, and we had to take up the slack. Which was
I appreciate that.
You're welcome. That's why I'm still tired. I had a party for him.
Okay, you had the party twice as hard.
Yeah.
We did try to drag him out of the room. I mean, you're in Indonesia, and let's go see the elephants.
That's what we did.
Let's go do this and go on the boat and actually see a little bit of the world. And I remember dragging him out and I said, "Come on, we're gonna do this."
See, it reminds me, I'm a big movie guy, and that immediately takes me to this old Disney movie called Cool Runnings. I don't know if you guys remember that movie.
Oh yeah, the bobsled team.
The
Yeah,
bobsled
of
team.
course.
It reminds me of
Johnny
Dougie
the
Doug,
bobsled
like having to stay while his friends party to like study the turds and everything. So you're Dougie Doug in this situation.
Yeah.
So we got to talk about the hair.
Okay.
Yeah, we got.
I still have it. It's mine.
You still got it, and it's looking good, man.
I've earned this great hair.
But what, like, and this is to everyone. Like, what was the best and worst hairstyles that you've had? Let's reflect a little bit.
It's
Like,
bad.
Starting in '84 and ending somewhere in the '90s or 2000s. Was very. We had a lot of looks, but it worked at the time.
it worked at the time. That's
If you
the
look
important
back on it, don't. At the time, it was good.
I had some terrible ones. I really did. I think there was mullet.
It's in the
somewhere.
archive, trust me.
thing. I mean, you know, I feel like
These
I
are
look
our
at
baby pictures.
it's fine.
It's
like, you know,
okay.
like I look at my hairstyle back in 2006, and I'm like, flat top curls. What,
There
what
you
was
go.
that thing? Like with the headband.
Everybody
like,
had something.
you know, the past just yields bad haircuts sometimes.
It's true.
So you grew up before cancel culture and like the internet and everything. Like, how would Bon Jovi be different had you existed like while that was already like a thing?
We wouldn't have had as much fun. You know, the excesses of the era were evident when you could be young in a rock band.
Right.
It was still on the tail end of the great stories of the Led Zeppelin kind
Yeah.
of stories. We lived them. Sure we did. So that's unfortunate that, you know, sometimes you wish that kids today would have that freedom to just go and,
Right.
you know, dangerously live their lives.
Yeah.
Do you think if you know, Bon Jovi started today, like you would have that like sense of freedom still?
I think it's what you make it. I think that, you know, the sense of freedom is whatever you want it to be. And the times have adjusted, right? So, but they're not restrictive. I think that kids can do what they want to do.
Absolutely.
It's a different world that they're coming up in, i.e., when a kid writes a song, which is all that ever mattered to me, you have to have the song. Otherwise, you're just a talking head, right? So
of
you're,
course, yeah.
but they have the avenue of the internet to get it out there.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's the good news. The bad news is the marketing machine might be different. The good news is that you have the freedom to sound like Bob Dylan and be a voice because you don't have to
Right.
compete with top 40 radio that only wants a pristine kind of singing song, singing show song that they've heard on television,
Yeah.
right? So the good news is you could be Bob Dylan. The bad news is they want you to have all these like hits and impressions from TikTok and
Yeah.
social media, and I find that repulsive. Because an A&R guy should go, wait a minute, it's a great song. I believe in you. You're going to write some songs that are going to influence the culture.
Right.
Not about this nonsense about social media. But that's the world, that's the yin and the yang.
New time, you know.
It's a different time.
You gotta adjust.
Just
to
a
it.
different time. You got to adjust.
Right.
There was no such thing as cell phones. No such thing as, you know, the first record. No such thing as the Macintosh computer just came out in '84.
Yeah.
You know, no cell phones. You could have. You weren't under the microscope
You could you could figure out who you were.
Yeah. That's.
without being judged.
I remember living in the transition of that and like seeing that happen, right? Like getting my first cell phone and going, whoa, this is cool. So
Sure.
yeah, you know, I remember both times, so I feel like I'm on your side and on the other side. So you know, fortunate for
you
me.
see in the archive, I mean, in the doc, I mean, the context and the culture changes, but this is a band that's been around for 40 years.
Yeah.
And underneath is creativity, one, the songwriting, like Jon says, like speaking to the culture even as it changes, but also like a work ethic, a relentlessness, like a just dogged. I mean, there's a lot of talent out in the world, but what you see, and the only reason a band lasts for 40 years is because it's constantly pushing itself
Right.
and reinventing itself, and I think that transcends the medium in a way, that
Yeah.
or like the distribution or the technology keeps changing, but underneath it's art, you know, and that's been around forever, will be around forever.
Incredible.
But the people who produce it will be the ones who just don't give up.
This next question is for you. I'm glad you're talking because you're now part of the legacy of Bon Jovi, which is incredible. Like,
Yeah,
right? They
that's
entrusted you to tell their
overwhelming.
story. It's I bet it's overwhelming, right? But like after working on this film, like how would you describe the legacy of Bon Jovi and their contributions to the history of rock and roll?
I mean, look, it's always been one of the iconic bands, but I think also one of the things that defined them was the chip on the shoulder, actually
Yeah.
not getting that credit. I mean, I hope this film helps get some of that recognition.
Yeah.
But I think the legacy was intact. I mean, this in some ways
course, yeah.
codifies it, I guess. But I mean, these guys just like put out a new single today. There's a new album coming. I mean, there's a lot more chapters to be written.
Right.
And so I think, but I do come from a sports background and I work with all of these athletes.
Right.
But again, I see this commonality. And in sports, there's always someone bigger, stronger, faster. In music, there's talent everywhere. But it's that relentlessness, that unwillingness to give up that I think really defines. And that's to me is the legacy.
Cool, nice. This next question is for Tico. There's an expression to describe being a parent, and like I'm a parent myself, and I find this very, very true. Long days and quick years. Looking at this film and reflecting on careers, like, does that hit home? Like, how does that, like, do these 40 years feel like they've gone by like very, very fast?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I think the older you get, the faster it goes. I mean, it makes you realize that you really gotta pay attention and breathe in a moment.
Yeah.
And then just be a little bit kind to yourself, because sometimes life will go by. The wonderful thing about seeing bits of this film is how much you could actually miss in 40 years. And 40 years is a long time, but it's sitting now, it seems like just a blink of the eye.
Yeah.
Which is what life is, and family and everything else. So, I mean, take advantage of it.
Yeah.
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 I
Trust me.
agree.
I
I
know.
always say that it takes forever for life to fly by. And while you're in that moment, you're like, wow, this is forever, and then bang, it's 40 years later.
Yeah, I'm 32 and I'm feeling that every day. I feel like my 6-year-old was born 2 days ago and she's 6 and talking back to me and saying things. John, Richie Sambora says a reunion with the band could happen, right? Any discussions with Richie about returning, anything like that?
It's not that we're not discussing anything. Just to be clear, there was never any animos.
Right.
He had some issues that were multi-tiered.
Right.
But it's been 11 years since he quit, and the door is always open. I mean, these are songs that we created together for a long period of time. So there's no animos whatsoever.
That's good. It's good to hear. I mean, as he said, it could happen. So I'm
Sure.
glad to see that there's possibilities there. There's a scene where you're saying, at 60, you should be the man you're supposed to be. Do you think you're the man you're supposed to be now?
Well, at least I'm the man I hope to be. It's a work in progress. Nothing's perfect. I've had a lot of trials and tribulations along the way, but ultimately I can look back with very few regrets, which makes me very proud.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Thank you. I think that's a great place to end it right there.
I'll
Thank
take
you
that.
so much for coming to the South by Southwest studio and talking your new docuseries, career, and everything. This has been incredible.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And thank you, Goodnight. The Bon Jovi Story premieres April 26th on Hulu. And you can find all of our South by Southwest studio interviews on our YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/SXSW. I'm your host, Juju Green. This is Gotham, Chopra, and Bon Jovi. I'll see you next time. This is so great. Just to be in awe of you guys has been absolutely fantastic.
Thanks, brother.